First of all, I'd just like to shout out with a big aloha. We appreciate everyone joining us today and the opportunity to share ideas and learn some insights to help with your organization. In terms of the brief introduction, we'll go into introductions here in just a second. I'll introduce ResultsPositive and I'll have Jason introduce ServiceNow. Next, we want to talk about some top budget saving opportunities by workflow area. And so we're going to be highlighting those in our walkthrough today. Really, what we're going to focus today is really answering the question why. Really focus on the value. What is the value we can receive from these different workflows? And so that's going to be the focus. And then we're going to focus on the how and the what in our upcoming webinars. And those will be coming up in February and April, where we're going to be looking at the value maps as well as provide a brief overview of the solution in our upcoming sessions. So today we're going to focus on the why and provide some examples of customers' achievement of that why value. So in terms of just a brief introduction here, ResultsPositive, we are a partner with ServiceNow. We're specializing in business technology solutions, helping organizations get value out of their investments. And that's been our focus here for the last 15 years. We do that through our various service offerings, from advisory, assessment, and roadmap services, to implementation, to advisory and guided setup, to training services, as well as managed services. We have customers, over 350 customers across all industries, and those customers range from Fortune 500 to mid-sized organizations. Our leading strategic partner is ServiceNow, and we're so grateful for the opportunity to have time with Jason, his co-hosting of this event today. And our focus here is around really driving business technology solutions to drive outcomes. A couple of things here, and the reason that we selected the focus here for this session is that we understand there's a lot of unplanned events and a lot of items that are causing us to lose focus, causing us to have concerns about the budget, concerns about company and the direction going forward. So we wanted to address that by providing some really some tangible opportunities to basically recover budget that you might have already earmarked, as well as a save budget. And so that's going to be our focus today. We know that it's a turbulent time, but we also know that there's opportunities to secure budget to address the ever-changing needs of your business. Jason, I'll turn it over to you if you want to do a brief introduction of yourself and ServiceNow, and then we'll continue.
Yes, thank you, John. Aloha all. I've met many of you, but for those of you I haven't, my name is Jason Daly. I am the local account executive for ServiceNow. I am on island. I've been covering Hawaii for ServiceNow since January 2020, but have been in business development here in Hawaii since mid-90s. And I think this is a very timely webinar. The day after Governor Ige's State of the State address, explaining the dire financial impact that our state is going to be experiencing for most likely the next 3 to 4 years, brought on by the pandemic. You know, some data points there. I don't need to reiterate with all those that are here in local business, but we went from having the lowest unemployment in the nation to the highest unemployment in the nation, and have stayed there for the last 10 months consecutively. Our GDP is over 70% based on tourism, which we have effectively turned off and are just trickling back on now. So what we're seeing is not only in the state and local government, but also local businesses, priorities are going to change in the uncertain financial future, and we think we have high conviction that the Now platform is well suited to meeting business objectives when dollars are going to be harder to come by. And that means that the expectations of our customers, our employees, our partners are not going to decrease as far as the level of experience they expect from us, but we're just going to have less dollars to be able to deliver that same level or better experience. And this is where ServiceNow really comes in. We've been around for 15 years, and our purpose is to make the world of work better for people, and that those people might be our customers, they might be our employees, or they might be IT workflows. And what we are really proud of is that we've developed what we believe to be the platform of platforms. So I'll use a consumer example. Over the last decade or so, the growth of technology has really expanded our expectations of what technology can deliver for us in the terms of experience. So consumer example, we use somebody like Amazon. During this pandemic, I've grown accustomed to be able to order whatever I want from wherever around the world using whatever device, whether it be a phone or a laptop or wherever I'm at. I want to be notified, that the order was received, when it shipped, when I can expect delivery, and even be able to follow the package on a map if I want. And we think that, us as people have naturally grown these expectations, whether it be as a constituent of our government, whether it be as a customer of one of our vendors, whether it be as an employee of our own company. And, what that means is that folks are now expecting omni-channel support. They want to be able to communicate with their employer, their vendors, et cetera, via the web, mobile, conversational platforms. We're holding this meeting on a Teams. So it needs to be omni-channel. The problem that a lot of organizations run into is that they've made significant investments in legacy systems of record, and those are listed down here below, whether those be, Salesforce for sales or Oracle or Workday for HR. We use Workday at ServiceNow for HR. And a lot of the times these legacy systems of record don't communicate well with each other. And then that's the real power of the platform, is that it's one platform, one data model, one architecture, and it inherently has workflows and integrations. Those integrations will allow the Now platform to be the system of action, and then be bi-directional communication with the systems of record, whether they be Workday or a payroll system, SAP, what have you. The machine learning, AI, and analytics, that's the ability to move our service methodology from a position of reaction to proactive. Over time, the system just gets better and smarter and is able to notify us, hey, because this happened, we think that this is going to be a potential impact to some of your customers, some of your employees, et cetera. To allow us to take a proactive initiative. It's omni-channel support, web, mobile. It has a common database that's going to feed several initiatives within your organization. Most of our large customers, if not all, have come to the realization that a CMDB project is important to them, to their future initiatives. Enterprise service management, meaning all the customer workflows, employee IT workflows. This is a great place to do it. And the reason it's able to be done here is because it's a no-code, low-code environment. For the last 4 years, we've been in the Leader Magic Quadrant for Gartner for low-code, no-code application development. And so we have several examples of how folks have been able to develop custom apps. So making existing workflows more efficient, productive, and cost-effective for the organizations while still delivering that high level of experience that our employees, customers, constituents expect of us is the reason that I think this webinar will be so impactful for those of you able to join us today. And just in closing, I apologize if I've taken too much time, John. John and the ResultsPositive team have been one of our best partners here locally. Some of the local customers they had listed on their slide, if you reach out to them independently, will speak very highly of John and his team and the results that they have driven for those organizations. And I'd be happy to give you other references offline if you're interested in learning more about John and his team objectively from the voice of customer. Thanks, John.
Thanks so much, Jason. Really do appreciate it. Appreciate the overview there, and thanks so much for continuing to partner together here and the co-host here for our session. So as I mentioned before, we want to kind of jump in and kind of start giving you some insights into where we've found budget funding opportunities in these different workflow areas. So the focus here is going to focus on the why. Jason told us a little bit on some of the how and some of the capabilities, but our focus is going to be here on the why side. And it's really by digitizing those workflows and those end-to-end capabilities combined with the automation, combined with the analytics, and in some instances, the omni-channel and the end-to-end service management is really where we can find some quick wins in terms of budget funding opportunities. So first one we see here is reducing your customer service agent costs. And we see that in two key areas. So one here, the expansion of virtual agent, right? So we can handle a larger majority of those customer interactions in day one, as well as on day two, day three, from a virtual agent perspective. So that's going to reduce our overall labor costs, if you will, and reduce your customer's service agent costs. In addition to that, by having a very interactive and engaging customer portal, that way the customer can be more self-service, and that way you can reduce the number of cases and requests coming in, thereby continuing to reduce agent costs and the need for agents to focus on dealing with incidents versus being more proactive and helping with the customer satisfaction. Next, just from an overall customer service efficiencies perspective. So Jason kind of mentioned some of the underlying technologies and capabilities, whether that be predictive intelligence, tracking and monitoring trends, looking at a case resolution analytics, multiple different ways to streamline and make the customer service agent much more effective in delivering their services. So it's going to reduce the amount of time that they would be on the call, reduce the amount of time to actually manage a case. And so as a result, the customer is going to be more satisfied. They're going to be more loyal to the organization. And it also then allows the customer service agents to support more customers. So that's a way to drive some additional cost savings. And then next here, this isn't necessarily from a budget finding perspective. Excuse me, it's not necessarily from a cost saving, but as we focus on customer experience and as we focus on that customer engagement, that's going to increase that loyalty and the customer retention. So if we increase the customer retention, that's going to continue to grow our revenues, as well as the customer is going to look at other products and services that we provide. And that way is going to create some other opportunities. So that's another key area to drive some budget funding opportunities. So that's kind of, if we were to boil it down into the top three that we see, quick ways that you can actually go in and identify how can we get savings very quickly. These would be some of those top ways. And next here we have a couple examples here from customers using the ServiceNow platform. So this whole idea of reducing the time, increasing the efficiency from a case management perspective, right? So reducing the amount of time and effort it's needed to manage those cases, always driving significant savings, up to $450K a year, 8 times faster in terms of opening an actual ticket, reducing the time here, as you can see, pre-population of fields, reducing the creation time, providing that support to that end user, reducing the actual call time, So these things are really going to help them generate cost savings from a customer service agent perspective. And then just looking at efficiencies from a reporting perspective. So the use of predictive intelligence, performance analytics can help drive additional savings. Getting that visibility into call trends, right? Identifying what we need to put on the customer service portal so that we can increase self-help, or putting on various common repeatable requests so that the customer can be self-sufficient. So a lot of positive outcomes here, just looking at things from an overall efficiency perspective. Next here, if we kind of look at it from a loyalty perspective, that's going to drive that customer experience, engagement, and satisfaction. As we mentioned, the end result is going to be the customer retention. So instead of having to churn customers and continuing to get more customers for the same revenue volume, this way you'll retain customers as you still bring on new customers. That's going to cumulatively grow the overall revenue, which is going to create additional funding for other initiatives in the organization and more value for the organization. And then just from an overall compliance perspective, right, there's a lot of significance here that can be achieved. So if we're looking at delivery out to customers, we want to make sure that the information being provided is being followed based on from a compliance perspective, or whether it be from a service performance perspective. And so we want to manage that effectively as that is a key factor into customer loyalty and customer experience and satisfaction. So those are some examples of actually achieving that those outcomes and different ways to drive those funding opportunities when it comes to managing that customer workflow, that customer engagement, customer case management process. So Jason, is there anything you wanted to add in terms of customer workflows and the value you've seen with customers?
Well, the only thing I would add in is that what we've seen globally is that this particular use case really speaks to the board of directors and the CEO, because this is directly related, as you're showing, to CSAT scores, which according to Gartner, a 10% increase in your CSAT scores impacts revenue by 3%. So if there's a desire for technology to align with overall business objectives of increasing revenue, this is the best use case to do it.
Okay. Thanks, Jason. So next I wanted to kind of jump over to the human resources workflow. So this is all about human resource service delivery. So how does the human resources department service all the employees? And so how do they handle their life events? How do they make it easy for employees to understand policies? How do they help answer their questions, whether it be payroll, whether it be just overall compliance? And so how do they handle those inquiries, those requests coming from employees? How do they also manage the onboarding and offboarding of employees? And so that's kind of a high-level summary. We're looking at it from a human resource workflow perspective. And so one key area here, looking at budget saving opportunities, very similar to the customer side, but here opportunity to kind of reduce the human resource support costs. So the team that's actually on the phone supporting those calls coming in for employees, it's an opportunity to reduce those costs. Here again, use the virtual agent type capabilities, have more of those type of calls coming in, being handled digitally, and that can continue day over day or year over year as you add more and more virtual agent scenarios. Also, the usage of the analytics and trending, so you can actually identify what are those common requests coming in, not only to help us to be more efficient in resolving those cases, but also in preventing those cases by supplying on the employee portal the various how-to documents, the various policies, or just automating common requests and putting those on the employee portal as well. So great opportunity to reduce overall human resource support costs. The next area here we see in terms of really driving a lot of budget saving opportunities is around onboarding and offboarding. And so here it's really going to have to require a lot of interactions across different departments in the organization because sales might be hiring someone or marketing might be hiring someone. So they need to facilitate those discussions and those activities between HR and marketing and sales. But then to actually onboard that individual, it's going to require technology to be involved in that. It might require facilities to be involved in that. It might require legal to be involved. And so you're going to see a lot of different departments that have to be involved. How do we automate that? How do we make that a seamless, cohesive workflow and fulfillment process? And so that's the power of using the workflow engine and the associated capabilities. So a lot of savings opportunities there. And then similar to looking at it from an NPI score perspective on the customer side, if we enhance the employee satisfaction, we're going to increase their engagement, increase their loyalty, have significant savings on not having less, or excuse me, on having less employee churn. Just the cost for employee churning is rather significant in any organization. And so that's one way to drive additional savings. Also, from an employee perspective, they typically go out and find out how to do things at home online. I know I do, going out there, and I love to go to YouTube to find out how I can fix a particular item at the house, or how do I really address the sprinkling system. But now as employees, they'd like to do the same thing. How do I deal with the new medical and insurance policy that just came out? How do I deal with the payroll changes that are coming out? How do I deal with some of the tax implications? Having some of that information so they can be self-sufficient is going to increase their engagement, as well as them experiencing the great customer support from the human resource support group through having additional tools and automated workflow. So these are the highest areas that we see of driving savings, as well as avoiding costs in the organization. The ability to reduce the amount of employee churn is going to avoid a lot of planned or budgeted costs associated with churn rates. So these are some key budget saving opportunities from a human resource perspective. So here we see some examples of savings for organizations that have provided some of their case studies here on where they've been able to drive savings. So we're seeing here some examples of the onboarding and being able to reduce those issues, reduce the frustration of those employees joining the organization, resulting in actual tangible annual savings. So by looking at how to automate that onboarding and offboarding process, an opportunity to really budget, take some of that planned budget, if you will, and use it in other value generating opportunities. Next, we have an overall technology manufacturer example here. And so here's where they're really looking at reducing the amount of work that the actual agents have to do. And so through chat and through virtual agent, an opportunity to kind of reduce and resolve requests coming in, being able to drive customer satisfaction. So the employees like to interact the way they do online in their personal lives and bring that here to the business. And so here we're seeing that with the chat satisfaction as well. And so the net here is going to happier employees, more engaged, more loyal, less churn across the organization, which will be significant savings. Next, I wanted to go and talk about application portfolio management. But before I do that, Jason, just want to know if you wanted to add anything here around HR and some of the value points you're seeing with customers in that area.
Well, yeah, thanks, John. This particular area of the platform is near and dear to my heart because I sold outsourced HR services here locally for 6 or 7 years. And it's a perfect example of how the platform provides value because almost all organizations that are on the phone today and that are out there already have invested in HRIS, whether it be Workday or what have you. They have a payroll outsourced system, ADP or Ceridian. They have a technology service platform, hopefully it's ServiceNow, or others. They have a facilities platform where somebody has to go and get their badge. And that onboarding process, the middle office stuff that's happening behind the scenes, new employee starts day one. Typically in pre-pandemic world, it's like, oh, okay, go to HR, select your benefits. They'll provide you with that information. Then go to payroll, do your I-9, then go over to facilities. They'll take your picture and get your badge. And it's a very clunky manual process that's not efficient internally, and it doesn't provide a good experience for the employee. When I got onboarded onto ServiceNow, we drank our own punch, and it was a mobile app. I went through 15 steps. My laptop was delivered. I had all my security provisioned, and I had my benefits selected, and I was on payroll on day one, and it literally took me like 8 minutes on a mobile app. So I am a big believer in the improved employee experience that I found and the time savings to the organization in automating that workflow.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. That's a great testimonial. Yeah, I've seen significant value here with having that workflow from an onboarding perspective, and just the perception from the employees of a world-class organization to be able to do that, and helps with that employee satisfaction as well. Thank you. And next, just wanted to talk about application portfolio management. And so this is another workflow area. And this is where we can really start to look at some real tangible benefits here from an organization. So some of the top areas we see here is the ability to really retire, rationalize duplicate or unused applications. It's amazing how when we continue to go into organizations to help them with rationalization efforts, that they're able to find a lot of duplicate applications or unused applications. And then there is just the supporting infrastructure around that as well. And so this is a key area when you think about it. If we can reduce 3 or 4 or 5 applications, and then we start to multiply that to including the second item here, we're going to remove all the idle application infrastructure supporting software licenses. So the combination of doing application rationalization and even doing discovery using, say, ServiceNow Discovery can really help to identify, hey, we've got a gap here, or we have this server out here that we no longer knew that was existing. It's now showing up in our CMDB. Maybe we need to get rid of that. What application's on that? Oh, yeah, we retired that application months ago or years ago. And so there's a lot of really tangible opportunities here immediately around application portfolio management. And then just the ability to look at reducing your total cost of ownership and your technical debt is also a key area here for application portfolio management. Now, the key differentiator that we found here for customers is that a lot of times they can get 20–30% savings here by doing the upfront rationalization and the underlying infrastructure and software. So some significant savings there. But a lot of times the challenge is that it becomes immediately outdated information. There's no way to automate the maintenance of that information, keep it current, make sure that it's fully compliant and that it's up to date. And so that's where the power of ServiceNow comes into play, because not only are you just being able to have that workflow and manage and maintain your overall total cost of ownership and the overall usage, but also it's tied into how you're running your operation. So you're actually able to track and report against the number of tickets it takes to maintain these applications and the associated costs to that. And that's just continually being updated automatically in the system. And so that way you don't have to have 3 or 4 systems. You don't end up having a stale, outdated application portfolio. an application inventory. And so in that way, you continue to find those additional value generating opportunities. So you can kind of generate that 30% or so savings up front, and then you can get that 1 to 2 to 5% ongoing by continually maintaining these applications. Also, if you think about it from an end-to-end application lifecycle perspective, we found a lot of organizations, they'll retire an application, or they'll pick and purchase another application. Sometimes they don't even know that's occurring. The business is off purchasing something in the cloud environment. But if there's a way to kind of take those applications that are known at least, and when those applications are being retired or a new application is replacing it, having a part of your process to go actually remove those applications from your environment, remove and update your overall CMDB. Also, you can have some of your CMDB completeness, correctness, and compliance items occurring on an automated basis, and getting that visibility. You'll start to see where those anomalies occur, so you can continue to get that 3 to 5% savings year over year. Just a couple examples here. As I mentioned, this is really a tangible place where you can go in and identify significant savings. So one example could be, what applications were you doing prior to the pandemic or prior to your digital transformation? Have those applications been fully retired? Have we fully actually retired those in the supporting infrastructure? So in this case, for this manufacturer, they were able to save $7 million annually from their ongoing application rationalization efforts. And we see a lot of organizations that they're trying to standardize on a couple different platforms. And so when you think of ServiceNow being the platform of platforms, you can do a lot of consolidation. Also, as Jason mentioned, you kind of create some of your own applications. And so you can even take some of those applications you have internally that you've developed that are on old technologies, requires a large number of resources because it's very unique skill set, and it requires its own infrastructure, and you can get rid of those costs and then use that on a single platform. So other kind of unseen, if you will, budget and cost savings from an application portfolio management perspective. Here's some another example. As we mentioned, it's really a tangible area to identify some overall budget and cost savings. So just reducing the number of applications and the associated software hardware contracts supporting those applications. Just a real tangible way to get significant savings. And here's another example. And this is kind of looking at it from, if we have visibility into our actual applications, as well as the supporting technologies and software, and we understand when those technologies are going to come up for a refresh, or the software is going to be end of life. Getting that visibility can help us better plan to make sure that we're going to do that retirement, or to make sure that we're going to re-platform, or we're going to sunset that application and go move to one of these platforms and really kind of centralize there and reduce some of our one-off on-premise costs and kind of move that to a more on-premise model. So this helps us in your project planning, and as a result of that, we can reduce the amount of technical debt, as well as then we can make sure that we aren't paying twice for similar applications in the environment. So that's some examples there from an application perspective. Jason, I'll just kind of throw it out to you if you wanted to highlight anything around application benefits and what you've seen.
No, great job. I would just reiterate that out of all of the use cases we're going through today, this one is a very low-hanging fruit as far as linear cost justification. We spent X on software today, and after doing this, we spent Y less, Y, which is much less than X next year. I mean, it's a no-brainer kind of.
Yeah, thank you. And in addition to that, another way to look at it too is, so say you've optimized your applications, and we've now had a chance to reduce the cost of the infrastructure and the software associated with those applications. But then there's the other way to say, okay, now we've got our 10 applications that we're now supporting, but are we how many licenses do we have for those applications, right? Are we fully utilizing the licensing for those applications? And so this here with the software asset management really gives us an ability to start looking at that usage and entitlement. And so there's some really great opportunities here to drive and kind of have some additional tangible savings, budget funding opportunities. So this whole reduced software maintenance cost. So by identifying and doing discovery, similar to from an application perspective, finding that we've got software out there on servers that's not being used, a great opportunity to drive savings. We're right-sizing our contracts, right? So based upon usage and utilization, maybe we've got 500 different licenses for software XYZ, but we're only using 50, we're only using 100. A significant opportunity to right-size those contracts based on what's being needed and still be able to provide the same value with that software, but reduce the expense, take that budget, use that budget somewhere else. Another key area found for significant tangible savings here is around compliance and auditing. So if you've got the ability to have all the information that's needed for a compliance or an audit, it's going to reduce the amount of time and effort the team needs to support those audits, because that can become a big job, especially if you have a lot of different software suppliers, and different software suppliers, right, are more into compliance and audit than others, and that can require a lot of time and effort on your behalf. But if you've got the full documentation and the system itself going out and doing that validation against the entitlements versus the usage, then you'll very quickly be able to create reports and give that to the auditors. You might still have to do a few follow-ups, but this can really save you tremendously just from the budget of having to plan to support audits on an annual basis. Once you also have a chance to use the outcomes here of the solution, that can actually reduce the number of audits, and that'll further drive budget savings here from a software asset management perspective. So another great area, like Jason mentioned, this combined with portfolio management, or both independently, can really drive a lot of tangible savings for your organization. So even when you look at it from a Gartner perspective here, just looking at wasted software, they typically see that there's like 30% software costs that can be saved in the first year of implementing a software asset management solution. And so that's what we found here with ServiceNow customers, is the ability to do that. So some of the examples here, I'm going to kind of focus in on some of the prime examples that relate to what we're highlighting here in terms of those low-hanging fruit opportunities. Really reduce your software costs, right? You're going to find out that you're not using various software or software just sitting out there, so you have an opportunity to reduce those costs. Also, we talked a little bit about the rationalization of application. That's also going to drive additional cost savings. We talked about the audits and reducing the amount of time to support audits, but also by having that information readily available, you most likely reduce the number of audits coming in from your various software providers. So another very, very tangible area to get quick time to value, to free up funds. I mean, I've seen organizations, doing discovery, doing software asset management, doing application management, application portfolio management. They've saved millions of dollars within months. Within a month, you're not going to do that every time. Depends on what your environment is and how clean your environment is. But typically, you're always going to discover and come up with some surprise opportunities to reduce costs, thereby freeing up budget for other value-added initiatives. Next, I want to talk about project portfolio management. And so here, there's a lot of opportunities here in terms of cost avoidance, as well as making sure that we are very selective in where we invest our strategic dollars. So the last couple of workflows we've been talking about, focusing on that discretionary spend to run the business, and how do we drive and identify opportunities to take that savings and apply it to something else. Here, what we're talking about is, in addition to that discretionary funding and budgeting, typically every organization also funds their very strategic investments, right? So say for this year, we need to focus more on digital to address how everyone's going to work in a more digital fashion, less people are in the office, as an example. And so as a part of that, we need to have a very good demand management process and categorization process to make sure that we really focus on investing in the value generating self-funding initiatives. Instead of saying yes to all of the strategic ideas that everyone has, let's focus on the ones that are going to give us the best value. And if we can focus on those that give us that value and are actually even self-funding, we're going to generate additional funds to invest in the other set of value-based initiatives. Also, we see an opportunity here, and we're starting to see this more and more with customers, is actually eliminate and stop current in-flight projects. Maybe we had this great strategy and we were going to go off on optimizing the workplace environment, and then the pandemic hits and we don't have a workplace environment. We're all now working from home. Well, let's don't continue down that road and continue investing in that type of an initiative. Let's stop that initiative. Let's save that budget and let's move it over here to one of our value generating initiatives. So that's really key. Next here, when we look at it from an administrative perspective, we can look at ways to automate the process of managing our projects. We can look for ways to use analytics so that we don't have to spend the time and effort to create status reports, to create our overall analytics, to understand what is the value generating opportunities. How do we rank those? How do we perform some what-if analysis to determine where we should make our investments and reduce a lot of that administration reporting burdens on the organization. So those are some of the big areas that we see in terms of driving value from a project portfolio management perspective. So some examples here, looking at really driving some savings here. So looking at driving savings here, hours saved here by having a more efficient demand management process. Eliminating and actually reducing the number of tools. We've seen many organizations that they've migrated off of a current tool set and migrated over into ServiceNow to manage their projects and their demands, their project proposals, manage the resources, manage time management. They can reduce multiple sets of tools. So in this example here, they were able to reduce and eliminate over 12 tools, and then the associated cost savings with those tools as well. Next here, from a professional services organization, and this kind of highlights the typical areas where you can really drive the savings. By having that transparency, you can have significant savings. I've worked with multiple customers in the past, and if you can provide the executives over the different departments, if they understood all of the projects that are being worked on for their organization, we typically found 20–30% of those, they would say, hey, let's stop those because I really don't want to invest money there because I've got another 10 that are value generating I'd like us to shift to. And so providing that visibility and transparency through analytics can really help drive significant savings opportunities. Centralizing the demand, so getting a visibility of all the demand. So let's make sure we're focusing on those are going to give best benefit and going to give us the opportunity for the self-funding. If we don't have that visibility, we're going to start approving initiatives across the enterprise versus looking at it for each individual department. Next is the visibility to prioritize and make strategic decisions. And so this further here highlights the value of getting that visibility and being able to make the right decisions. Next here, just wanted to highlight a ServiceNow example. So in addition to making sure that we invest in the right projects, we stop the right projects that are no longer needed, we can also now support multiple ways of actually delivering projects. So instead of just doing things the old traditional way, we can also support Agile, Scaled Agile framework, and that's actually how the ServiceNow team uses the platform. And so you can really manage those hybrid Agile initiatives all on the same platform. and be able to manage it in a way that you can deliver those solutions quicker. And those those projects or product releases are going to drive more revenue for the organization. Another opportunity to drive additional savings. So that's some examples there. So the big question comes into play. So where do we start, and how do we determine where's the right place to invest? And so you might have received some insights here as we went through the discussion so far on some opportunities. But ServiceNow also provides the project portfolio management system here on the platform to help you with those investment decisions, to help you identify from an ideation perspective, what are those great ideas? We can start looking at those and start making some decisions. But we also know that there's a lot of competing demands here, right? So do we focus on new products, or are we actually going to reduce products because of the pandemic and our businesses is shrinking in certain areas and we need to grow in other areas? So do we need to focus more on digital? Is there more focus on competitive positioning, or more focus on the customer? What do we need to do for our discretionary spend? What should we be focusing on there that's going to help us have a smaller run rate, if you will, going forward? So we all need to look at managing those items and determining where to invest. But at the same time, we're going to have different ways of actually delivering those new products and services and bringing them to market. So we're going to be able to need to do that across different methods, such as agile or waterfall or an iterative approach. Most organizations that we're working with today are doing it in some form of a hybrid approach. So the ultimate here is that we really want to focus on driving value. Let's spend our development efforts on those new products and services that are going to grow the organization. Or let's spend those efforts on those workflows that are going to help us drive efficiencies. It's going to help us save budget so that we can spend more dollars on those market differentiating solutions. So it's really key here to help with this shift. So a lot of what we're talking about here is how do we shift the investment here and run the business through automation and improvement initiatives, as well as going in and finding those savings from an app portfolio management or a software asset management perspective. And we want to shift that funding into those revenue generating, budget generating, if you will, initiatives that we can drive in the organization. So as we kind of bring that together, that's what we're able to achieve here with the ServiceNow project portfolio management solution. We can look at all of those demands. We can help the executives understand the value and the benefit associated with those opportunities. So we can look at growing the business strategically. We can look at optimizing our discretionary spend. We can bring that to market based upon the work approach that's most efficient, whether that be agile or hybrid. And we continue to focus on those values and those outcomes. And so that's kind of what we're all about and working with our customers, is helping them achieve value, helping them achieve the outcomes that they're looking to achieve with each one of their initiatives. So the question we have, as you've had a chance to participate today, is what is your biggest budget funding opportunity today? So based upon the insights that we've identified today, what are those potential target workflow areas that will help you identify some low-hanging fruit to address those really, core budget issues that businesses are facing today, as Jason mentioned there with the state of Hawaii? How are we going to really adjust and be able to deal with those budget constraints? Well, let's identify those target areas here that we've mentioned today that are going to give us some tangible value. Once we identify those, then we can identify the specific actions we can take, the projects we need to work on, so that we can actually then come in and deliver that value and receive that budget funding, shift budget somewhere else. So we need to look at new products and services in the short term to address the budget constraints of the organization. And then ongoing, we can continue to look for uncovering additional value across the organization. So this is just something to think about. Which one of these areas do you feel that you can drive some short-term and long-term opportunities? So what we want to provide you is a couple ways that you can identify those opportunities. So what the first opportunity here is you can schedule your results positive value discovery workshop. So that's a 2 or 4 hour workshop across these different workflows. So you can kind of pick a specific workflow and we can have a discovery session there to understand where you are today and help identify some of those opportunities to stop spending, get some immediate savings by not continuing to spend for areas that you don't need to spend. And so we can do those workshops, or an actual value discovery roadmap engagement. That's a 1 or 2 week engagement that is an opportunity here to look at those budget saving opportunities. Also, we partner with Jason and ServiceNow here to look at business value assessments. So if you're assessing how do we want to enhance overall customer service in our organization, and you wanted to look at how ServiceNow could assist in that as a part of that process. We work with Jason a lot here in this area. We can come in with using their methodology around the business value assessment, which is based upon industry standards, and help you identify the savings and the benefits you can achieve by approaching, say, the customer workflow. And then the last one here is you could schedule your ServiceNow implementation or tap into our advisory guided services engagement to be able to secure and achieve these budget savings. So in terms of what's next, as I mentioned, an opportunity to schedule your discovery workshop, discovery business value assessment that we mentioned. And so you can reach out to Jason, reach out to myself, reach out to Shauna, and we can assist you in the next steps. The other thing that you might want to do, instead of waiting for our upcoming webinars, where we're actually going to walk through and show you a value map, an example value map for each one of the workflows, as well as a solution overview and demonstration. Instead of waiting for those that are coming up in the next couple months, you could actually then schedule a session just for you and your team. And so we could schedule a session there and make it more specific to your organization. And lastly, here you have a chance to find some additional ServiceNow workflow and information here at the link below. The question we typically get is, so are these tangible budget savings, and where can I really get the tangible savings immediately? And so the 2 key areas for immediate tangible savings, one is around the software asset management, all right? Finding that software that's being underutilized in the organization and immediately reduce software costs. The other is the application rationalization through the combination of app portfolio management and discovery and the CMDB. You can immediately identify those applications and then be able to retire those applications or migrate them to a new platform and drive significant savings. So those are the 2 most tangible opportunities to drive savings that we found for organizations for a quick win perspective. Jason, any common questions that you receive from customers on where they can receive savings and how they can achieve the business value that we've talked about today?
I would say that organizationally, and this comes from my time at Gartner and sitting into a bunch of analyst consultations, is that, and this is something that I see here commonly in Hawaii, is that the technology organization has a tough time aligning their value to the overall business objectives that the C-suite is interested in. And a lot of these initiatives help bridge that gap and provide results that are important to COOs and CFOs. I'll use a couple local examples of work you've done for our largest utility and our largest healthcare payer. The feedback we received from COOs and CFOs was, oh my gosh, I didn't know that this was the power of the platform. Folks that don't typically interact with the ServiceNow platform from an IT service management perspective are now seeing the value because it's delivering tangible business results in cost savings or increased experience metrics and whatnot. So I think this is really a strong webinar, and I appreciate you putting it on, and thanks for inviting me to co-host with you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jason. Yeah, you're exactly right. Executives are seeing that now they get visibility into their investments, and they start getting visibility into the business value, and they start making that connection between those technology investments and how they drive those business outcomes. So thanks again, Jason, for the collaboration and co-hosting of our webinar today. And we look forward to providing you with the information from this webinar, as well as we'll be letting you know about the upcoming webinars here that we have planned. We'll have an opportunity to show you the value map where you can actually drive those savings, as well as provide you with a solution overview with the ServiceNow capabilities. So thanks again for your time today.